We love football's father-son stories. Think Whitten, Hudson, Ablett, Fletcher, Cloke and Watson. And then there's the three generations of Burkes, Dwyers, Kennedys and now the Silvanis. Add in the Murphys, who provide an extra dimension. Welcome, John and Mark. Do you know the difference between you and the rest?
Might have something to do with best and fairest winners.
Exactly. 9 between Leo, your father, 6 for you, 2 for him, 1 for Mark. And all at different clubs.
We like sharing it around.
Yeah, obviously. Now, I want to know why you're a Hawthorn supporter. There's a famous photo of you on your father's shoulders when you're an 11-year-old in the Hawthorn gear.
Yep.
And you grew up a passionate Hawks supporter.
Certainly was.
And didn't play for them. Why not?
Oh, very briefly, 1966, I was played in Heidelberg in Diamond Valley, and I trained at Fitzroy because I was in their zone on a Tuesday night one week and then Hawthorn the next week to see which club I liked the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Fitzroy a bit better.
Why?
Probably because...
Truth, Murph.
The people, probably the people at the football club at Fitzroy probably were more to my way of liking. Coming from Heidelberg, whereas I don't think the Hawthorn people were in those days. And
Let's be explicit. What, too many public school boys there?
Maybe something to do with that. Plus, also at the end of the day, Hawthorn were really trying to get Peter Hudson, he went there the following year, the same year I started at Fitzroy. And it came down to they offered me, wanted me to go to Hawthorn. They said, we'll give you your old man's number 16. And Fitzroy, who I wanted to go to, said, we'll give you $1,200.
So you took the 1,200?
And in those days, it was $20 a game, so that's 3 or 4 years' pay. And the old man said, well, just, $1,200 will buy a lot of number 16 Hawthorn jumpers if you want. I learnt many years later that it really upset the old man.
That you didn't go to Hawthorn?
Yep.
With the benefit of hindsight, do you regret it?
If you want to be selfish, probably yes, because I may have had the opportunity to play in 4 or 5 premiership sides. Who knows? Might have broken my leg the first day I played there. Don't know, but I don't regret going to Fitzroy because it was a great club and I had a great time and they looked after me. It was a sad way I finished there, but...
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Mark, similar story with you. The father-son rule allowed you the right to go to Brisbane. And I know the Brisbane heavyweights certainly put you under pressure to join them, and you decided to go to Carlton.
Yeah, well, I suppose I got cut at under 16s at Vic Metro, and thought I was probably more of a cricketer at that point. Played a couple of years at Oakley and went pretty well there, and it chose to stay in Melbourne and go to Carlton in the end rather than go up to Brisbane.
Did you nearly change your mind that famous day in Brisbane on a Sunday when the Brisbane heavyweights, I think Lee Matthews, Gubby Allen, Michael Voss, Jonathan Brown, Luke Power, all took you out for dinner and you were 17?
Yep.
You would have, that's fierce pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a nice fancy seafood restaurant up there in Brisbane as well, and I'd never been to one of those as well, so that was a good change. But yeah, it was guys that I really looked up to as a young kid. Used to go into the Brisbane Lions rooms when I was a bit younger and see Voss and Lappin and Ackermanis, Power and all those guys, and used to love watching them play, and it was pretty special to hang out for dinner with those guys, and obviously Lee Matthews being a great of the game as well was pretty special.
When you left that dinner, I think it was after a game against Hawthorn, I think, late in the season. When you left that dinner, was your inclination to play with Brisbane or not, or were you already committed?
No, that was when I was 17, and I couldn't get drafted at that point, so I still had another year at under 18s to go. I was pretty keen to go there at that point. Yeah.
So what changed your mind?
I played to a really high standard in my bottom age under 18s and played Vic Metro and won the Lark medal there as the best player in the under 18s at that point. And at that stage there was quite a few Melbourne-based clubs down the bottom, and yeah, it was sort of told to me that I wasn't going to slip past probably pick 4 or 5, and was pretty keen to stay in Melbourne and play my footy down here.
Murph, did you want him to go to Brisbane?
I had no influence over his decision.
You had no influence over his decision?
We left that to him.
Is that true, Mark?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no,
So
people...
yeah?
It would have been far better for me and him financially if he'd gone to Brisbane. So I had nothing to do with his decision making. I was, at the end of the day, if it was actually Fitzroy Football Club, I would have been a bit upset that he didn't go to father-son.
Yep.
But
So
to
you saw a distinct difference between Fitzroy and the merged entity of the Brisbane
I don't
Lions.
see Brisbane as Fitzroy at all.
You don't?
No. Unfortunately, we tried to. I tried to get that way. In fact, I took the three boys to their first grand final, hoping that would mean something really to me. This is before Mark even thinking about playing footy, but it didn't. So.
But some others have embraced it, haven't they?
Oh yeah, good luck to them.
I mean, blokes that you played with.
I'm pleased for them, the players, and Arthur Wilson, you know, a very close friend of mine, and they love Brisbane Football Club, and that's great. But to me, and probably thousands of others, Fitzroy is no longer in existence.
You thought it died in the last game in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you follow now? The
Carlton.
Blues?
Yeah.
Do you follow Mark or do you follow the Blues?
Oh, Mark first.
Yeah.
You know, because probably in those days, you know, it was like, I've never hated Collingwood, but I used to dislike Carlton a little bit.
Dislike,
Because my first game was at the Princes Park ground against Carlton, and that's when Fitzroy made Princes Park their home ground for 3 years, and they didn't treat Fitzroy very well. No, I'd very for Mark and then Carlton.
I'm interested in the reason why we're talking to you as father and son. I'm always interested in the chemistry between a father and a son, particularly when the father's had a distinguished career like you have. How difficult is it to watch your son play, knowing you've been out there and done that?
Pretty tough.
Why is it tough? I mean, there's the pride, isn't there, that your boy's there.
Oh, the press. Look, Mark, and every kid that gets drafted, when they get drafted, they say, if they get drafted in the first 1 or 2, they say, look, it's only a number and all that sort of stuff. But basically, it's not. You know, if you get drafted number 1 or 2 or 1.
Yeah, well, Mark went at 1.
Yeah, 1.
Yep.
The pressure on a number 1 draft pick is enormous. You can play one bad game and they're saying, oh, no, number 1 draft pick, what a waste, and all this sort of stuff. So that pressure and the injury-wise is, you know, you worry about the injuries.
Yeah.
Because they get more severe injuries these days than they used to do when I played.
Yeah.
Like, you only get broken noses because getting belted behind play or something. These days, the collision injuries is enormous, and Mark's last 5 years has just been just horrendous as far as bad injuries are concerned. So they're the things you worry about. But the joy to see your son playing something he loves and playing pretty good footy at the same time and being well respected, and it makes up for it.
Is there any Demir Dokic about him, Mark?
Demir Dokic, yeah, that's an interesting one.
What's he like? What's he like in the context of the footy season? In your, I know you talk regularly.
Yep.
Is he encouraging? Is he critical? Does he intrude?
No, he doesn't intrude. A bit of both. The first you mentioned, before a game, he'll send me a text, probably the day before, and just make sure the body's all right and wish me luck. And then after the game, he'll come down the rooms and make sure I pulled up all right. I think that's what Pa used to do with
Same thing.
John
Yeah,
as well.
your father did that with you.
Yeah, my dad used to just walk in, just see if you're all right.
Yep.
Yeah, but now you'll wait a couple of days before he critiques it too much to me.
I was going to ask, is there a ritual? I mean, does John ring you the next day, or does he leave it a couple of days and then talk through the game?
If we've played poorly or I've played poorly, he might wait an extra day, just for probably more for him to settle down, probably rather than me. But look, he's really encouraging. After game, we'll talk about the team and how I played as well. But it's all encouraging sort of stuff and
Luckily,
things to work on.
Luckily, I haven't had to say too many bad things about it.
No. Look, he's got a great one. 6 top 3 finishes in the best and fairest was testament to your consistency and your quality. But what about when Mark does something that you know that he's done something wrong? Can you bite your tongue with that stuff or not?
As far as what way?
On the field. I mean, if you see what you think are mistakes in his strategy or the way he's applied himself.
Oh, strategy is always difficult these days because it's not like in the old days when we just go out and play footy. These days they have different game plans and all that sort of stuff, and parents and supporters don't know what game plans are. You know, you might think you do, but you don't. So sometimes I've actually said to him, look, why don't you do this? Because you can pick up an extra couple of touches for the side and yourself.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's not part of the game plan. So you butt out then, because it's you hear those words, so role play and all that sort of stuff these days. So they're all told to be in certain positions on the ground. So I'd like to see him go somewhere else, but it's not part of the team plan, so you can't say anything.
Well, there was an interesting initiative at your club recently, Mark, when the fathers were invited to participate in some of the strategy sessions. Is that right?
Yeah, just sitting on a team preview of the week ahead and what we were aiming to do as a team. So that was good having, I think we had 30 of the 45 fathers.
Yeah, and they spent the morning at Princes Park.
Dads and Dudes Day, we called it. They came in and sat in on a few meetings, and I think all the parents, all the fathers walked out there and thought, oh, geez, a bit to footy these days rather than just chasing a kick.
Yeah.
So,
what did you get out of it, Murph?
I got out of it that the club's on the right track. I think their coaching panel, and I don't know what the coaching panel's been like in the past because you actually never got to know them, but these blokes know what they're about, and it was great that the club did that because I think they've been a bit ordinary as far as their contacting with parents and all that sort of stuff, and this is fantastic because that's the Hawthorn way, isn't it? I think.
Well, that's the first time I've known of where the fathers have been invited to sort of get to know how their sons are treated.
Fantastic,
in a footy sense.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I spoke to probably 7 or 8 of them, and they all said the same thing. How good's this? So,
who do you watch the footy with?
I go with my sisters now and sit there and I don't know.
Are you vocal?
No.
No. What about when there's a shocking decision?
He
gets a lot of them, doesn't he?
I've been vocal a couple of times when I've seen some nasty things happen to him on the footy field.
Yeah.
And
in terms of attention from the opposition?
Oh, yeah. Things that should never have happened, but they do.
You want to share any of those with us? No?
He doesn't like taggers, I don't think.
There's a perception from the outside that the tagging, the pure hard tag, belongs to yesteryear. Is that true?
I reckon probably earlier in the year I thought that teams had gone away from tagging. And it looks like it's come back in the last month or two.
Really hard tag, where the emphasis is on not letting you get near the footy rather than what you can create off.
I think if you've got like every team's different. If you've got a specialised bloke who can really blanket someone, it's a great tool for you to use. But I think you see more taggers these days being able to win their own ball as well, which I think hurts the opposition who you're tagging more. Because I think the days of a tagger going out there and getting 7 or 8 touches and keeping the other bloke to 15, 18, it's gone. I think they're more about blanketing someone to 20 and getting 20 themselves.
Your father was noted even by his teammates as sort of being fairly grim about his footy, like it was a tough job. Yeah, you didn't seem to get a lot of joy out of it when you played, and maybe you can't. And that's why I'm talking in the modern era. I think you think it's more difficult for these blokes. Can you enjoy being a league footballer on match day?
Oh, certainly. I think even at Zip and 4 this year, seeing some of the improvement from our side was, I'm sure whether you call it enjoyment, but you could see that we were on the right path. And then once we had our first win against Fremantle over there in the West, that's what you play footy for, is to work really hard together as a collective and to get results. And that's one win that stands out. But then we had 4 or 5 of the next 6 games that we won as well. And that's sort of been lacking in the last previous years of real enjoyment about winning games of football and working hard together.
I'm probably talking more as an individual, because I know, Murph, you believe that these blokes are under fierce scrutiny, don't you?
Oh, yeah, because they are.
Much more difficult than it was when you were playing.
Oh, of course.
But I think the local club aspect of it's gone, where you play hard on the weekend and then go have a few beers together. As a team, it's hard to try and do that these days.
But is there a sense of relief when you get through a game, you've played okay, the team's done well, and you've escaped injury? You feel that sense that this tough task has been done for another week?
Oh, there's an element of relief about it. I think individually when you play well and then when your team does, a bit of relief that all the hard work you've done in the week leading up to it has come off. And then you don't have the media on your back as well, that you have to contend with cameras walking into the club all the time as well, is also an aspect of it. But I think there's still the enjoyment there of training day to day. You spend all the time with guys
your
you're
mates.
really close with, and you work hard together. But Yeah, I think the even the side of it since I first started 10 years ago of going out and having beers with everyone after games is almost lost a bit these days. It's few and far between where you get that opportunity.
You did that, didn't you? I mean, there were the after matches that we would go to as media. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of jugs there, mate.
Well, Saturday nights are always big, you know, and you pay for it the next day because you have to train on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But couldn't do that these days, you know, because these days if you get a bruise, you're not allowed to have a drink for whatever, you know.
Do you drink during the season?
Oh, a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had a tough run of recent years with your injuries. Do you know your old man played his first 152 games in a row?
Yep, I did know that when Crouch from Sydney broke it.
Jared Crouch, yeah.
A few years ago.
It's an amazing achievement, that.
Well, you just got to be lucky, you know.
It's more than luck. You've got to be resilient too, don't you?
Oh, no, I think you've still got to be lucky, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, some blokes just get hit and you can break a bone. Some blokes get hit and they don't break a bone, you know. So it's luck, isn't it? Half the time.
It's a mix of both, probably.
Yeah, it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
They're going to do all the prep for it, and then
I think Marc missed one game other than the first year when he missed 9 for his shoulder. Only missed one game for about 6 years, and then now he's missed 5 or 6 games every year for the last 6 years. So hopefully next year and for the last 3 or 4 years of his career, it turns around for him. But I think you've got to be lucky. And sometimes in those days when I played, you could con the doctor.
Do you see much of you in Marc? The way in the style of play?
In a lot of ways I do, yeah. But he runs better than me. He's a bit quicker than me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I think he probably got to get more goal kicking into his game.
I was going to. Yeah. You kicked 300 goals at Fitzroy.
Yeah.
That's a good return from a midfielder, isn't it?
Yeah. I've seen some of his stats of disposals and goals.
Yeah, but you're both good at the similarity is in reading the play and accumulating possession.
He uses the ball a lot better than I did, and he's a better team player than I was.
That's a big admission.
Yeah.
Better team player.
Yeah.
Which leads me. Were you selfish?
No, I don't think I was probably doing the right thing by the club being the way I was in those days. But that was the way the footy was, you know. You'd have a kick instead of a handball, and that KB was the best, and he's no
and lethal.
Yeah. That's the way football was. But Marc would sacrifice himself, I think, of getting a possession for his teammate to get it. But I wouldn't do that. I wanted to get it.
Yeah.
If that makes sort of sense.
No, that was sort of, but you'd want to get it too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if I'm there to go get it, I'll get it. But
if you're in the best position to get it. Yeah.
But if you're not in the best position, you don't call for it.
Yeah.
You don't go get it. But
you obviously didn't see your dad play. What's your view about what he was like as a footballer?
In terms of Dad, I'd seen maybe a 2-minute clip of him running around and kicking goals with. Couldn't tell it was red hair, but he had red hair back then and a bit of a mo. Yeah. So.
And they weren't bad, the Roy boys, were they, in your day?
We weren't as bad as people made out. In fact, in the 11 years I was there, we didn't come on the bottom once. When people think, Fitzroy were on the bottom every year, but they weren't. We finished.
You just didn't play finals,
We played 6. They brought a five in, we finished 6th, that sort of stuff. So we had some really good players, you know, like Gary Wilson and Warwick Irwin, Harvey Merrigan, they'd be all superstars today, all of them, you know.
When we come back, boys, I want to ask you, John, about 3 clubs in 3 years. End of 1977, John, you've won your 5th best and fairest with Fitzroy, and we don't see you again in the maroon and blue.
That's right, yeah.
What happened?
Midway through 1977, I made a comment to a media person about time this club got off their backside and went out and bought some players, and if they have to sell me, that's fine, but just do it. Because I think the year before, Stan had left Melbourne, Stan Alves had left Melbourne and went to North Melbourne, all that sort of stuff. And that didn't go over very well. That was in the papers and all that sort of stuff. Fitzroy wanted to sack me then for making those comments as captain.
Yeah.
And it got a bit dirty. North Melbourne jumped on the front foot and they wanted me to go to them halfway through 1977.
Because you could change clubs
Yeah,
before June 30 in those
and I would
days.
have had a chance to play in a premiership side if I'd gone.
Yeah.
And I was getting very little money at Fitzroy.
How much is very little?
About 6,000 or 7,000, I think.
A year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And North Melbourne offered me 3 or 4 times that to go
Wow.
there in that 1 year. And I didn't really want to go, so I knocked it back. Stupid me. Knocked back Hawthorn earlier, and then North this time. I didn't want to go, didn't want to leave Fitzroy, but they made it very difficult for me to stay there. So
How so?
oh, just the way they treated me, and I'd organised a football trip to Hong Kong and Singapore for the players and all that sort of stuff, and the players were told not to associate with me and all that sort of stuff.
In 77?
Yeah.
So you're the captain of this footy club and you're the best and fairest winner, and players are being told not to associate with you?
Yeah.
So you leave?
Yeah.
You leave Fitzroy, you walk?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you go to South Melbourne?
I went to South Melbourne for a good deal, shake of the hand.
Yep. You missed the first 5 games?
Yeah, Fitzroy wouldn't clear me, so I missed the first 4 or 5 games, yeah.
And then you win the best and fairest?
Yeah.
And then you're off again the next year?
Well, I played the next year, because I went there because of Ian Stewart too.
Yep.
And then Ian Stewart, after I signed with South, decided to go to Carlton to be coach there. And then Tuddy took over, and then at the end of 78, the club got rid of Tuddy and brought back Stewart. And after about 6 games, I knew I was on the outer for Stewie for some reason. So,
But he wanted you there, didn't he?
yeah.
I've got to stay with this for a moment, Mark. But
Yeah, stick with it, I'll just hang
when you said that Fitzroy should get some players in to take that next step, you leave. Is it true that Walls and Quinlan came the next year?
They did.
Yeah.
Wars Quinlan, Jerry McCarthy, is it, from Hawthorn?
From Hawthorn, yeah.
And 3 or 4 others they got. And all of a sudden, they did what was required. They got some new players into the place, and away they went. And they were very successful. So mid-1979, when Stewie gave me the flick from St Kilda, from South Melbourne, I was asked to go back to have a meeting with Fitzroy, and a couple of the people said, "You left us, we don't want you back." So,
Gee.
yeah.
How do you feel when you're hearing this story recounted? I mean, does it sadden you?
Oh, it's interesting. Like it's almost unbelievable to think that you'd lose your captain that way, and then
because you're a captain of your team.
yeah, and then not be welcome back. Maybe that's part of the reason why he doesn't really like Brisbane Lions as much anymore as well. But I don't know.
Yeah, look, I made an admission to Arthur Wilson a couple of weeks ago at the Fitzroy Hall of Fame that I really still don't feel welcome back at Fitzroy. You know, it's strange, isn't it, in some ways?
It is. Well, you were at the Hall of Fame, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big step forward, isn't it?
Oh, no, I've gone to all their functions.
Yeah.
No, I've got nothing against now, nothing. But it's just my own personal belief that I've done, you know, I didn't fulfil what I should have done at the end of the day.
Okay. And then you finally played a final at North Melbourne, full forward. Can you imagine him playing full forward?
Not a likely full forward type, is he?
So you play full forward, North win,
Yeah.
and then what happened? You didn't play the next week.
No, I sat and watched them the following week.
Dropped.
Yeah.
It was a sad finish for a bloke with such a distinguished career, I reckon.
Yeah, well, that's the sad thing about it, but that's life. I made the choices, and I made wrong choices.
Is there anything that you, in your own mind, feel that you've learnt from your father's career?
I think initially he always has said to me, make sure that you're a one-club player. So that's obviously some of the mistakes that he made, and I'm really comfortable being at Carlton, and hopefully I can manage Sauce to give me 4 or 5 more years of playing at the Blues.
Well, you've got to be you've got to be happy with what you've done there. I mean, that consistency's beyond dispute. So you've been runner-up in the best of fairest 4 times.
Yep.
And won 1 and a third.
Yeah.
That's pretty good form, isn't it?
Yep, excellent.
I think I've still got probably my best footy ahead. I'm only 28 and still got a fair bit of footy left in me.
There's a political one I'm going to ask you. Were you pleased when there was a change of coach, when Mick left?
I think, well, the writing was on the wall probably 4 weeks before that. I think everyone probably around the club had known that. They could feel that was going to happen. It probably reached a point where the club needed to change, and it wasn't just Mick. It was upstairs as well, the football staff, coaches as well, and players. Like, it's been a really big clean out.
It was an open secret outside of Carlton, though, that Mick rode Marc very hard. You would have been aware of that. How difficult was that to live with when you were so close? He's your son, and you're so close to what's happening at the footy.
Pretty difficult, but I'm not going to go any further. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
I don't think I think that's all history now. It's gone, and he's got through it all.
Yeah.
The club's got through it all. Mick's been a sensational coach for many, many years.
Given that you're an ex-player and you played against him, did that sort of encourage you to talk to him, sort of say, look, you know, what's up, what's going on, why are you so hard on him?
Oh, well...
Did you ever talk to Mick about that?
I never spoke to Mick.
At all?
No. Oh, well, he'd say hello. That's about it. He's not the type of person... And not many coaches are after games, because they don't. So I'm not going to ring them. I don't ring coaches during the week or anything. I never have. Never will. I don't think that's anybody's position to be ringing up coaches talking about their sons or talking about the
I
team.
agree with that. And you wouldn't want him to do that.
No, he'd never want that, and he'd
Right.
never do that. Like, that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah. What's the toughest thing? Has he said something to you that's really shaken you? I'm talking about John. In that father-son chat, has he ever lost it and said something that really cut you?
No, he's never really lost it and said something that really cut me. He's frustrated me a few times with some of his comments, but that all comes from a place of care.
Yeah, sure.
So like he's never really been too hard on me, and he's certainly been demanding in what he thinks I should be able to get to, which is fair enough. And
What do you mean by that?
About trying to raise my game to the next level. And
is that work ethic or is that skills or what?
No, not skill-wise. Probably just, not so much work ethic, but just more mentally about wanting to be the best. And that's probably been something that he's always tried to ram down my throat. And I'm the same. I reckon I'll do that to my son as well. If I hopefully have a son one day and he does whatever he wants to do. But
fourth generation.
I'm not sure about that. But anyway,
did Leo ride you hard?
No.
No?
Not at all. No. He was probably a little bit less demanding than I am. He was right what he said. I always want him to be the best. And that's what every parent wants, don't they?
Of course they do.
Yeah.
I've been fascinated for a long time about the chemistry between a father and son when the father's played footy. It's been really enlightening, Murph. Great to see you again, and congrats on your great career, and there's a lot to come yet for you, Marc. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Michael.
That's right.